Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on GT Sport. We're back with the FIA Nations round at Interlagos, driving in the Group 3 car. So again, a variety of cars being picked. Interlagos does always show a pretty decent BOP. A Lamborghini you see there starting from pole position. We have another Lamborghini starting from P2. Lamborghini did seem very strong in terms of qualifying. We have a GTR in P3 driven by SDL Sonic. In P4 we have a Mercedes. So there's three separate cars, all within the top 4 positions. So it's nice to see a variety. Not everyone driving the same cars in the FIA Nation series, as we have Lost Storm in the Mazda in P6. So there's another variety of car there. Myself just behind in P7, a reasonable qualifying lap of a 1 minute 30.6. Right behind me, PR1 Fire. Don't think he hugged his lap up properly. I did see him do much faster lap times than that in practice sessions, as he does tend to practice with us a lot. But going through the field there, Calster in P10 in another car, the Porsche. Again, the Porsche, it was one of them cars you had to really nail a lap to get a very good qualifying time. So a 30.7 isn't the worst lap. I think we did a 30.5, but we had to nail that when we did it in the previous race at this in the manufacturer series. Like I say, it's not the easiest car to get the lap together with, the Porsche, because of you have to nail the middle sector. In terms of the rest of the lap, you lose a lot on the straight. So nice to see a variety of cars in this grid. We've got obviously 20 cars driving in this top split FIA Nations race. Starting from P7, the aim was to get basically a consistent result, because I only had one shot at this race. This was the first slot of the day. I could not race any other slots after this. The same with manufacturers, because we had people coming round for my partner's birthday, and basically it was a one-shot attempt, see what we can get out of it, have a bit of fun. And looking at the field, there are very strong drivers in this race. We've got TRL Adam, obviously Lost Storm, one of the fastest drivers on Gran Turismo Sport in my personal opinion, and Fire right behind me, also one of the strongest drivers on the game in my opinion. So this is going to be an entertaining race. Hopefully, if I can manage to hold on or even gain a few places in this race, it's going to be a good result. As we see, putting that brake bias all the way to the rear pretty much. We're on 4 to the rear. We're running the medium tyre on the front and the hard tyre on the back. Fortunately, the hybrid tyre strategy was still working. One of the reasons why I picked the Mercedes was because of that, because the Mercedes drives extremely well with the hybrid tyre compound. Even though we're running 4 to the rear bias, still handles extremely nicely, and that's going to enable me to look after their mediums on the front. And obviously the rears are on hard tyres, so you're able to push the rear a little bit more. You just got to be a bit careful on the front end through the corners. So this is going to be interesting. When do we pit? We was testing out 2 stops during practice, but I think we did on the last races of practice, and we decided that the 1 stop was the way to go in this race. As we see straight away from lap 1, a little bit of hustling going around. You can see people trying to eye up, see if they can find space. During this phase, very hard to make moves. Obviously, everyone's tyres are in very good condition, so it's going to be important to look after your tyres. That is why, again, I had 4 to the rear bias, to try and keep as much life in my front tyres as possible to help me out towards the end of the stint, when it tends to come alive, the races towards the end of the stints. When everyone's got grip, everyone's got the slipstream, and then you can see everyone just eyeing each other. I'm having a little look down the left of the Lost Storm. Not going to go for a move. I'm just letting him know that I'm obviously having a little look. I think he knew that I wouldn't go for a dive there. It would have been pretty dangerous to even try a dive from that far back. But up ahead, you can see we've got SDL Sonic. Bit of a gap developing between himself and P3. I think it's Josetti in the other Mercedes. So bit of a gap developing there between the GTR and the Mercedes. Not sure if he was running the hybrid in that Nissan GTR. I do know that the Nissan GTR can run the hybrid compound tyres, whether it's just not as strong as a Mercedes. Like I said, the Mercedes was very strong running this hybrid tyre. Possibly a little bit harder to get a good lap in qualifying. However, we got a little bit lucky, did a pretty decent lap in our qualifying, and got ourselves on off 1 minute 30.6. Now you see Storm in front of me, Fire behind us, 2 very fast drivers in a sandwich of some of the best drivers on the game now. So we're going to have to try and just keep it smooth, keep our concentration on the tyre wear. It's so important with this stint on the mediums on the front to really look after them. Obviously the car is very heavy on fuel. Mercedes didn't really require much fuel saving in this race. What you'll see me doing is just gentle short shifting just before the rev bar. So while we're in the slipstream, we don't need to rev it out. Obviously, shift just before the end. Mercedes is actually a very good car in the slipstream. It's got quite high top speed. You can see that the GTR behind me is gaining, but it's not gaining at a massive rate, and that is because the Mercedes is it just seems to gain a lot when in a slipstream. So we skipped ahead a few laps there. You can see we're now starting lap 5. We've still got Fire behind us and Velostorm right in front of us. Fire misses his braking slightly and nearly taps me up the rear there. Luckily, he keeps his braking in a straight line, one thing that you should always try and do to avoid hitting the car in front. Very well done by Fire to avoid contact there, but we're getting a good run up Velostorm here. You can see got a very strong exit off that corner. We have a look down left. He's going to have to go defensive. Unfortunately, there's no point even trying to go around the outside there when you've got a car right behind you as well. So I played it safe, just tucked back in, and again we're going to just keep eyeing him up, keep letting him know that we're there, putting a bit of pressure on. You can see looking down left, then looking down the right, just trying to make sure that he can see me in the mirrors, making sure that he can possibly, you know, he might not be 100% concentrating on the car in front when they're more likely to make a mistake. Drivers, if you do obviously put a bit of pressure on them, they know the pressure's there. So far in this race, it's been fairly static. You can see not much movement going on with the positions. I think Josetti's made up one position there, putting himself up to P2. But other than that, it's been quite static. However, you can just see how close this is. We're obviously on lap 5 of the race, just under a third of the way through. Just look at this from P1 all the way through the field. Not much of a gap. A little bit of a gap behind Marcus, behind in the GTR there to the next cars. Probably a loss of slipstream gap there as well. So that gap might possibly develop a little bit longer. But you can see it looks like a car going in the pits there for a very, very early pit stop. It looked like possibly one of the Lamborghinis. Not 100% sure what that was. Let's have a little look as we go through into turn 1 there, trying to hit the braking point. Just look at this, how good this looks on this game when you've got so many cars so closely packed together. It looked absolutely amazing on these TV replay cameras. You see, I think there's 10 cars all within a matter of seconds of each other, and this is amazing to watch at the tops of racing. It's all starting to look a little bit closer now, coming towards the end now with the tyre wear kicking in. You see myself having a little look up the inside of Velostorm there, but again there was no point lunging it up there. I think he knew that I wouldn't go for that move and didn't even bother defending it. It's again just trying to let him know that I'm there, that I'm gonna go for a move if there's an opportunity. As you see up ahead, it's all seems to be coming back to us. I think what's happening here is that the leader driven in the Lamborghini, it doesn't look like anyone actually pitted that lap. Maybe someone dived off down the left hand side just to avoid people getting the slipstream, but it looks like the Lamborghinis are holding people up. You can see SVDR is in the Lamborghini and has just been overtaken by Josetti in the lead there. So obviously a bit of a issue with the tyre wear for that Lamborghini in the lead, but he's managed to get himself back past Josetti there, and this is good because it's bringing everyone all back up together. You can just see the gap, 2.5 seconds to the leader from myself in P7. Some crazy racing going on here. So we've got a bit of a gap developed behind us. Looks like there's been some overtakes or some issues in the race behind us there, so a bit of a cushion behind me, so I don't need to worry about the car behind for a few corners, as it looks like SVDR was suffering with them tyres on that Lamborghini as he's pitted there on the end of lap 6. Very, very early time to go for a pit stop. The time that I was looking at was always going to be at least lap 8. I think if you pit it before then, you run the risk of having quite worn tyres at the end. So a very early pit stop, possibly going for a 2-stop strategy in that Lamborghini, which is going to be very hard to make work now that the field is so tightly compacted. He's going to come out in a lot of traffic there. But looking up ahead, you can see there's a bit of gap developed between WDP and SDL Sonic. SDL Sonic's got himself right behind the lead battle here. Very, very close. You can see Josetti in the lead with Tiara Ladham in P2 in the Lamborghini and SDL Sonic in the Nissan GTR in P3. As WDP goes wide there, Velostorm's going to go for a move, gets himself past. We're going to try and work this now to see if we can go for a move also. It looks like WDP is starting to suffer a bit with the tyres towards the end of the stim. My tyre is actually in really good condition, but possibly helped by the brake bias I was running. As you can see, his front end doesn't seem to be as strong. However, now he's got that tow from Velostorm, which is going to help him out all the way up this straight as we go into the final corner before the big drag race all the way up the hill. And this is going to be interesting. Is anyone going to go for that early stop again on lap 7? Now this is, if you're pitting lap 7, it's probably going to be a 1-stop strategy. Anything before that, you're probably forcing yourself into a 2-stop. So WDP going for an early stop on lap 7, that's interesting. Marcus behind us also going in for an early stop, and I think Fire possibly also going in for an early stop. And behind me now we have Kelster in the Porsche. You can see there over 3 seconds behind, not that far behind actually. It's just how close this race is in terms of the competition is just so tightly compact that 3 seconds is quite a few positions. Shows you the importance of qualifying around this track with the BOP the way it is as we go through the corner, trying to get back into slipstream with Velocitome. Obviously, he made that move on WDP before the pit stop, means I'm going to have to try and get as close as possible now and use that slipstream and the advantage of having a bit of space in front of me while the tyres are still in reasonably good condition. I felt like I could have done another lap here, but I think the safest bet is to obviously pit and try and go in with everyone else so that we come out with a guaranteed slipstream in this race. With obviously all these different strategies at play now in this race, as Velocitome, a very easy mistake to make, runs a little bit wide there, just clipped his tyre on the grass, and very uncommon mistake. You don't very often see Velocitome making mistakes like that. I don't think he'd actually practice this race at all much. I think I seen it on Twitter that he'd only done about an hour's worth of warm up on time trial, so possibly a little mistake that's developed from not obviously putting in the effort in terms of practice. So now we've jumped up a position, we're going to carry on and follow this group of cars in the pits. You can see just behind SDL Sonic, 1.1 seconds back. Now the issue is, are we going to come out the pits in a similar place to where we've gone in, or is the undercutters going to get a big jump on us like WDP and Fire and Marcus? Have they done enough to get a jump on me, or have they done enough to get a jump on other cars? As you see SDL Sonic just in front of me there, it looks like he's going to come out just in the perfect place. Unfortunately for me, you can see I've been mugged by them 3 early stoppers there. You've got WDP, Fire and Marcus have all got the jump on me, but Sonic, luckily for him, has managed to stay out ahead of all that group. So that really does show you the difference what 1 second can make. It was a 1 second gap going into the pits, and I've come out 4 places further back. Obviously he's in P5, I'm in P9. Crazy race, but as you can see, what's going to make this race even more crazy is LZR Calster has not pitted yet. He is going to go for a very, very long stint on his first stint, which is very brave. You can see he's at the front there. He's going to lose a lot of time a lap, and if he doesn't pit this lap, it's going to really bunch this field up. I'm not sure if he was thinking about trying a different strategy. Maybe he was considering doing a no stop, but then thought better of it, or I'm not sure what his plan was really. But working our way up the hill now, you can see Marcus in front of us. Now the advantage we've got is we've got 1 lap newer tyres to a lot of cars in front of me. I think WDP has actually got 2 lap, possibly 2 or is it 1 lap tyres. I'm not sure if he pitted at the same time as Marcus and Fire, but either way, 1 lap tyres, equivalent of 8 I think, because it was times 8. And when you're running the medium tyres, these medium tyres will wear out at Interlagos, a track that does actually use quite a bit of rear life up and front tyre life up with some of the high speed cornering. So this race could actually develop into quite an interesting race, with the fact that we've got a lot of cars on different strategies. We've got obviously a couple of cars on a 2-stop. I think P2 SVDR in the Lamborghini is probably on a 2-stop strategy. We've got Calster not pitted yet in the lead, who's going to cause a little bit of a train as we go through here. And just check this out, 3 seconds is separating the top 9 cars in this race. Absolutely insane racing going on. And also you can see just behind there, Velocitome is going to get back onto this group when everyone gets held up. You can see how compact it is. You've got from Calster all the way down to myself in P9, under 3 second gap. I think it's about 2.8 second gap. Look how crazy this is. We're right behind Marcus there. Having a little look around the outside, not really able to hang it around the outside. Obviously, even though we've got 1 lap newer tyres, his tyres are still probably in very good condition. But I'm trying to work the car, trying to get better exits from that corner to see if we can go for a move into the final corner. But unfortunately, just not enough power in this Mercedes. Obviously, that Nissan GTR is probably the most powerful car in this game in terms of brute acceleration, as we see just incredible replay. Look at that as Calster goes off into the pits and unleashes everyone. Now this is where it's going to develop this race. Things are going to start kicking off. You can see everyone now all bunched up together. This race is anyone's at this point. You can see Josetti in the lead, but you can see how close this is. 2 second gap from myself in P8 all the way up to P1. Absolutely insane. We're on lap 11 in this race. you know, we're quite a way through it, and this is just incredible racing. We're going to see, will it all kick off with the different strategies? Are people going to go for a move? As Fire has been kicked wide there, you can see ran wide as WDP didn't give him much space. SVDR also runs wide there. I think his tyres have come to the end, people taking advantage. We're going to try and hang it round the outside. You can see squeezed nearly off the track, but just about managed to hang on to it and catch the rear and hold it all the way around the outside, and managed to get 2 places there. We take Fire and SVDR, and then Marcus in front of us has to get out of the way. We see a gap on the inside, we take advantage of that gap, and we manage to gain 3 places. A brilliant few corners of a race there. We've gone from P8 all the way up to P5, so insane stuff going on in this race. Let's have a little look back at what actually happened there. So you can see up ahead, Fire squeezed out onto the grass by WDP, not much room in the braking zone, and forced onto the grass a little bit. And then SVDR also makes a mistake. We just about avoid Fire there on the corner as well, and then we try and hang it round the outside on the left hand side. You can see that left hand rear tyre nearly going too far wide, and just managed to hang on and keep the car all the way around the outside. And with the extra grip from the tyres, it's quite a simple overtake in the braking zone. That Lamborghini really struggling. And then Marcus there leaves, obviously with an issue with SDL Sonic, door open. I see an opportunity, and we get ourselves up into P5. Some great racing there, and a very nice little section of track for myself to go up from P8 to P5 in this race. So now if we can hold on to this will be a fairly solid position with a very high strength of field. Obviously some very good drivers in this race, and we started obviously down a little bit. I think it was in P7 or P8, so to be in P5 we've gained positions, and we're very close to the cars in front. Obviously also for myself, we've got WDP, who has pitted that lap earlier. Sonic in the GTR is looking very strong, obviously with the same pit stop as myself, and has been held up with a little bit of battling, so he's got very good speed. He should be able to get past the Mercedes. If that Mercedes drops out of the slipstream from the Lamborghini in front of him, he should be able to get quite a simple pass in terms of straight line speed down the main straight. This will be interesting how this develops. Luckily for myself, I'm still in the slipstream, which is going to give me the ability to defend from the other Nissan GTR right behind me. As you can see now, still very close between the leader and myself. Leader only just over 3 seconds, around 3 seconds ahead, as we have a bit of a moment there getting onto the curb on the power. Rear goes a little bit loose, however just about managed to hold on and not lost the position there. However, now going into this right hand corner, you see SDL Sonic goes for a move on WDP. That opens up an opportunity for myself to get very close and go for a move also. So all starting to bunch up a bit now here, and people looking to make moves in this race. This is incredible racing on this lap 12 out of 17. A great race so far, really enjoyable. You can see behind me in the mirror, we've got 5 or so cars right behind myself. We're in P5. We've got 2 cars right in front of us. A bit of a gap developing now between P1 and P2. Obviously managed to get themselves away from all the battling, and obviously now WDP slightly worn tyres. I think he pitted obviously on that lap 7. SDL Sonic's got the fresher tyres. Now he's right in the slipstream. WDP does not have the slipstream to anyone in front. That is going to be a pretty simple overtake for that Nissan GTR. It should just breeze past in terms of straight line speed, as WDP has to tuck him back into the slipstream of Sonic there as we get into the braking zone, and now right behind WDP and looking to make a move, as we just see now from this replay camera. Look at that snake of cars, and you know, we're coming towards the end of this race. This is incredible. After 18 minutes or nearly 20 minutes of racing, that the race is still this close, battling for the podium positions. So really good fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this. We go for a move around the outside of WDP, really struggling with tyres. He manages to hold us off there and just about defends us now into the middle sector. But just look behind us. This is so you've got to be so careful in these situations. One move that doesn't work could cost you multiple positions. We've seen it on previous laps where drivers have lost multiple positions because of trying to go for an overtake. But again, we're going to go see if we can try and wrong foot WDP. We managed to get the car very nice and tight into that corner. Now we've got the outside line. He's going to just keep his line and not really give us much space there, so we're not going to be able to go for a move on that right hand side. And again, we're just still trying to find the way past us. Just look at this behind. 2x2, 3x3. Insane driving in this race. This is an incredible race, a thoroughly enjoyable race as well, as we now come to the final corner of lap 13. Can we try and get a slipstream off of WDP? Unfortunately, it looks like he's just about in the slipstream range of P3, so he's going to be able to defend possibly into turn 1 now, working our way down the straight. trying to just keep that short shifting a little bit going to make sure that we've got the fuel to get to the end of the race. We're going to have a little look possibly now. So we're going to pull out to left. He reacts to that straight away and defends that inside line. So now we're going to brake nice and early and try and just work the car from the other side of the track. Try and give ourselves a better exit. You can see us trying to think about the exit of the corner as we now come out the final, this long left-hand corner into the slipstream. But again, he's just in the slipstream of P3. It looks like WDP is suffering with the tyres in this race as we go into the left-hand corner. Again, the rear tyres on that car in front of us in the Mercedes don't seem to be gripping too well. He seems to be struggling quite a lot, as again, we're going to fake it down the left and then just tuck up the inside on the right. There was a gap there, we see the gap and we make a move. A little bit of contact, but it was fair. The gap was there and we put ourselves up into P4, and the Nissan behind us, driven by FIA, goes to that move as well. As there's contact behind us as well, as I think Marcus gave WDP a little tap that then tapped obviously WDP into FIA. But fortunately for ourselves, everyone then maintains a position. Let's have another little look at that move. You can see we were trying to go for it. We had much more traction and grip off the front end. Just look at the amount of grip we had through that corner compared to WDP. And now we fake it down the left hand side and then just cut back across. We see a gap on that left hand side, we go for it, car up the inside. The gap was there and a little bit of contact, but it was a fair move, as then he gets a little bit of contact and runs into the back of FIA. But luckily no one lost any positions after the contacts that went on behind us. But now we're in a situation where we got FIA behind us in a much faster car down the straights. However, he did pick that lap earlier, I think, or possibly 2 laps earlier, and unfortunately for myself, we're just outside the slipstream range of that Nissan GTR, and obviously down the long straight he's going to be able to just blast away and build that lead up a little bit more. So you can see with all that battling as well, the leaders have managed to pull out about a 4.8 second lead over myself and the battle for P4. We've got FIA behind us, we're just a bit too far away and we've got to hold on as we skip through to lap 16 now. We've just got to defend for another 2 laps in this race. Can we hold on? You can see the gap still around 4.9 seconds, 4.8 seconds to the leaders. Pace was very similar. I found myself and Josetti's pace was actually not that different in terms of on the track. We did have a practice race when we were right behind him. It just comes down to strategy and qualifying where you actually end up in these races. But you can see FIA getting very close now. This is quite worrying. Will he be able to get the traction in these areas? This is where the Mercedes is very strong though. This area in particular, the Mercedes gets so much traction off the rear. You can see we managed to just build up a little bit of a cushion on these areas of the track, and obviously with the fact that there are a lap newer tyres, we've obviously been running that bias to the rear still to keep our front end in very good order to give us the grip through some of them fast corners as we go into that final corner. And again, you can see so close to picking up the slipstream from SDL Sonic, but again we're just a couple of attempts away. So matching SDL Sonic in front of us, who's matching Josetti and Tiago Adam, and we've got FIA who's right behind me, who seems to have a little bit more pace. You can see it down the straight. He's 4 attempts, 3 attempts. It's gaining. That Nissan GTR is so fast as we go on to the final lap in this race. I think that FIA just didn't. I don't think he was going to risk going for that move, but I'm not 100% sure whether he was even going to go for it. I'm not. I was a bit in my mind, is he even going to try this? Because I was pretty convinced that FIA would be racing this again. FIA wanted to win this race, so he wouldn't be settled for P4, P3, probably even P2. I think he would have only settled for the win in this race. He knew he had the pace to do it, so I'm not sure if he was even going to dive for a move anyway. But while we were in the situation, it was very nerve-wracking on these final few corners, just trying to keep the car as fast as possible with a very, very fast car behind us. That Nissan GTR, you see it gaining the slipstream. It's just so fast down the straights. However, through corners like this is the weakness of the Nissan GTR. Through this section here, it just doesn't seem to be able to get the traction from the rear tyres, whereas the Mercedes, very, very strong. You can see on the Delta to the car in front, also driven by SDL Sonic, it's pretty similar. On the straights he pulls away, but through the traction zone to Mercedes does actually gain a bit of time back on him, as that gap to the leaders still 4.7, 4.8 seconds. It's not altered at all on these last few laps. As you can see, they're starting to battle a bit now on this final lap. It looks like Tiago Adam is going to go for a move and possibly try and get an overtake done on this final corner. Is he going to be close enough? I don't think it looks like he is. As we go down the main straight, you can see that FIA just hasn't managed to get close enough. It's going to get very close towards the line. You can see that GTR getting bigger and bigger in the rearview mirror, but we managed to hold on to that and take a very well earned P4 in this race with some nice overtakes and some great battling. That was a really enjoyable race. I thoroughly enjoyed that from start to finish. I have to say, that was a very, very tense race when being involved with that. I think anyone in that race would have enjoyed that, with all the battling that was going on. So you can see at the front as well, just less than a tenth between P1 and P2. Great racing all the way through the field. Thoroughly enjoyed that. We pick up 311 points. Not a massive amount of points, but it's a strong enough haul to keep our consistency going in the Nations Championship. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you hit that subscription link on screen if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, and hit the notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.